Canty and Michelle coming to you live from above the Heineken River Deck, Pier 17. Michelle Smallman, Chris Canty, Evan Cohen with you. The voice of Mark Hessisher heard right here on ESPN Radio last night. My team, the Miami Heat, actually got back-to-back wins over the Golden State Warriors. Jimmy Butler's return to Miami.
There's too much joy in your voice when you say that.
Joyful right now is how I feel. Bobby Marks, ESPN NBA front office insider, who famously on our show told us the story, which was just phenomenal, of talking to a general manager on the phone once, not realizing whose general manager it is or which general manager it was because he doesn't save phone numbers in his phone, to which his older son is furious about for years. Anyway, Bobby, I think in some ways, the cat is out of the bag a little bit with Jimmy Butler and the Heat. And what I mean by that is, I think we all know that there's Jimmy Butler versus Pat Riley. I think last night showed there's Jimmy Butler versus his ex-teammates and his ex-coach, too.
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, that's as inspiring as I've seen Miami play, a nondescript, vanilla-ish, non-identity type Heat team.
Yes.
I've seen play in a long time here. Prior, probably even going back to last year here, maybe they need Jimmy Butler for the next 11 games to get them going. But yeah, I thought the two bigs with Bam and Ware, and then certainly how Tyler Hero played. But I am disappointed with Heat fans
Because
I can't believe, and I get it, I can't believe that it was like a 50-50 split last night of people cheering for him.
You think it should have been what?
Oh, I would have booed him like crazy.
Wow.
I can't believe, I was saying this morning with Greeny, how it ended, and I know he got you to the finals, but a player that basically quit on you, he quit on as an organization, and it's happened before, and it will happen again, but I couldn't believe that people were giving him a standing O last night, but that is life, and that's where we are right now. But that out of last night, that disappointed me. There was more juice in the Garden last night with a Knick team playing an 8-man Dallas Maverick team last night than basically what they showed for Jimmy Butler last night.
Just a quick follow-up on that. I don't think you're wrong. And if you think about it, Jimmy Butler won more in Miami than anywhere else in his career.
Yes.
But didn't win enough per his goals, which is to win a championship. LeBron James won more in Miami than anywhere else individually in his career. And so Miami can bring the winning out of people, and then those players bring the winning to Miami. There's no question about that. But the thing about Jimmy that I don't know that the fans knew, is how much he did not get along with the teammates and the coach. Yeah. And I think you just, if they knew that going into that, that would be different.
No, this wasn't just
didn't shake hands.
We didn't just wake up in, in early October and all of a sudden this was how it manifested. This has been kind of something that's been brewing. And you basically were able to mask it because they were winning. And when you're not winning and he didn't get his money and everything kind of, manifested there.
Bobby, scary injury for Damian Lillard and the Milwaukee Bucks. What are the long-term ramifications of this injury with Dame out for the foreseeable future?
It's a shame because I don't know if we'll ever see a healthy Milwaukee Bucks team in the playoffs. Certainly if the injury link, I would think. This is pretty significant here because last year you had no Giannis in the Indiana series. If you go back 2 years ago, you in the Miami series, that wasn't the full. Right? Yeah, that wasn't a fully healthy group here, and now we're basically going in with probably no Dame in the playoffs, and Giannis basically kind of on an island by himself here, and I think it's devastating. Listen, they were still behind the pack as far as where Cleveland and Boston is. You might get a New York-Milwaukee first-round series now because they might slide all the way back to 6 here, but I think it's for them to have a chance. He needed to be on the floor. It's pretty devastating.
How does that impact Giannis's future with the Milwaukee Bucks?
Well, that's going to be what happens if they lose in the first round again for the third straight year, and that will be he'll have to look at the big picture of things and say where is this? The goal is always to win a championship. Does this present itself for me? And the likelihood it probably doesn't because they're doing everything they can to try to put pieces around him. The Kuzma trade and they went out. They got Brook Lopez, who's a free agent this summer, but I think it's certainly going to be something to watch based on what happens in the playoffs.
Bobby, let's swing things out west. So the Lakers have lost 3 in a row: Milwaukee, Chicago, Orlando.
Yeah.
As they finish the season here, what are your concerns around the Lakers?
Well, I just their identity. They're not a Showtime, we'll try to outscore you type team. And I think their identity we saw in that stretch of games since January 31st is defense, right? Like number one in defense. That has taken a significant lapse lately. How do you find once LeBron got hurt in Boston, the wheels kind of fell off. How do you kind of get back to that? I'm not as ready to raise the red flag just because I think everyone in that 2 to 6 group, maybe even the 7, Clippers and Minnesota are so bunched together. Mm-hmm. So if they're at the 6th seed, or I'm not concerned. I'm more concerned if they're in that 4-5 because basically OKC is staring at them if they get through that. But they got to get back to kind of defending. Their offense against Miami led to poor against Orlando the other night led to poor defense, and I think they can. But I wouldn't be surprised. I think they have. They've got Indiana tonight. I wouldn't
right
be
here on ESPN Radio, presented by Indeed.
An Indiana team that nobody's talking about, right?
Really good right now.
I think they've won 5 in a row. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's another loss tonight here. But they got to get back to defending.
We're talking with Bobby Marks, ESPN NBA front office insider. As Bobby mentioned, Pacers-Lakers tonight, presented by Indeed. Coverage begins 7 p.m. Eastern here on ESPN Radio, ESPN app. LeBron was in Indy, did the interview with McAfee. That airs today at noon Eastern time on ESPN. I want to talk big picture team building. So Oklahoma City, Houston built similarly in my mind. Cleveland, not 100% similar, but kind of. A lot of guys, homegrown, trades that maybe you don't expect, not the megastar upon arrival. If none of those teams get to the finals or win it all, will we change the mindset of the consolidation trade of 2 or 3 guys for one?
I don't think so, just because I think look how long it took Boston to get there. Boston with Tatum and Brown, it took them 6 years to try to. I mean, they had to get through Miami a couple times and couldn't do it, and then they lose in the finals to Golden State. And they were paid. Everyone was saying, "Hey, you got to split up the 2, right? You got to split up Tatum and Brown." I think if Oklahoma City, listen, if they lose in the first round, that's going to be like, "Whoa, what are we doing?" If they get to an NBA Finals and lose, I don't think so. I think Houston's still a little bit. It's amazing. Houston's in the 2 seed right now, and we don't talk about them either. I think they're still probably another piece away, and it's almost Houston is like where Oklahoma City is last year, where they're going to use the playoffs and you're going to figure out, all right, this is what we need. This is what we need to go out and get. Do we need to go out and get Kevin Durant? Do we not have a closer on his team? Do we have great starting pitching, but not a closer here? So I don't think we're there, but it is the patience of it all really tests front offices, because then there is that when Cleveland goes out and get Donovan Mitchell, it's like, okay, we couldn't get any further than where we are. We got to go out and throw 4 first-round picks to get a player.
Bobby, we just brought up OKC. They've got the runaway favorite to win MVP in SGA. They're the first team to 60 wins in the NBA. They clinched the number 1 seed in the Western Conference before anybody in the West clinched a playoff spot. Now, there is a bit of believe it when I see it with OKC in the postseason, but looking at the landscape of the Western Conference, who do you see as the biggest challenge under?
Well, on Friday on Get Up, I said Minnesota, and they have not played since. Every time I talk about a team, they don't do well. It's like the reverse jink here. I thought Minnesota, just because of they had been there before last year, and with Edwards, and now they're basically fighting to get, 7 or 8 here. Denver, when they're right, they weren't right the other night, and they got to get Jokic back here. I think Denver is a threat to them. I just think